The best part is Arham is back, and so the dynamic duo essentially अपनी तारीफ नहीं करनी चाहिए, but still, I'm just gonna do that. It will essentially delve into all things Pakistan, beg your pardon, Champions Cup. But starting with the whole idea about कि ये चीज़ exist भी करनी चाहिए या नहीं. Arham, why are we having the Champions Cup?
Thank you, Ahmad. It's been a while since we recorded our last podcast together. I think it's good to be back. I think the first question that came to my mind was essentially the same thing as you mentioned. कि इसकी need क्या थी? Because we've spent the last couple of years uh, almost destructing something that was being constructed by you could say some so-called decent individuals who were heading uh, the cricket board at that time. I'm talking about the 2019 2020 era. So तब तक we thought कि things are progressing, although there was a lot of noise around it कि भाई you're essentially destroying the structure that was being laid down for quite some time. And the जो कहते हैं traditional voices, the former cricketers, people who were essentially products of that domestic system, so वो इसके काफी खिलाफ थे. But अब हम जब देखते हैं कि essentially it is a sugar coated version of the same thing. So क्या क्या नई नीड आई ऐसी 2 साल में कि everyone, the people who used to criticize that structure and that those initiatives have just turned 180 degrees on their heads and started saying that this is the best system that could have been placed. You could argue that the thought or thinking behind it could be pure and genuine, but जो end result नजर आ रहा है अभी, खैर result तो नहीं हम कह सकते, लेकिन जो execution wise in terms of the cricketing structure है, और we'll talk about it later as well कि क्या nitty gritties हैं. तो ओवरऑल अगर देखें तो बहुत फेयर क्वेश्चन है तुम्हारा. बट आई थिंक कि इसमें हम ये बात ज़रूर करेंगे कि इट्स सॉर्ट ऑफ आवर कल्चर, एक पाकिस्तानी कल्चरल चीज़ है कि जब कभी भी कोई नई एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन आती है, किसी को भी कोई नई जिम्मेदारी दी जाती है, सो द फर्स्ट थिंग दे ट्राई टू डू इज that getting rid of the things that the previous regime had done, whether there's no sense of continuity, कि चाहे अच्छी चीज़ की भी हो पिछली regime ने या things would have been on any side, बट जो नया बंदा आता है वो चाहता है कि भाई मेरा नाम हो उस पे एंड समथिंग दैट इट कम्स आउट एज माइंड. तो आई थिंक ये वाली जो फैक्ट है, इट डज अ लॉट बैड टू अस and to the entire circuit rather than the good things.
Yeah, I mean, so for context, Champions Cup essentially has five teams with all the best players in Pakistan, right? And so, isn't this the same idea जो कि पिछले domestic system में था, which was about six teams with all the best players? Essentially, आपने और dilute कर दिया. Although critique यही आती थी last system को कि आपने उसको dilute किया, but you've diluted even more. At the same time, you have retained the departments as well as the regions, and so effectively we have five competitions that are going to be happening in our domestic structure. I mean, isn't that a lot? मतलब players के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा ये नहीं है?
Yeah, and I think basically those structures which are going to be run in parallel to each other, two completely different set of structures, and you essentially what you're doing is that you want कि players बस full time divide होके खेलते ही रहें. You do not, there's no, अब I don't know कि इसके बाद जो leading up to the selection process है, because obviously you're playing at two different setups right now. So how are you going to select the team in the end? और उससे उसके अलावा जो the main thing which came to my mind was कि in the end आपका aim क्या है? You want players. We heard the chairman PCB talking about they're trying to build backups for the current national sides, and also trying to find out new talents via these World Cups and pathways. So क्या ये एम इससे इतनी अच्छी तरह accomplish हो सकते हैं, और या फिर there would have been some other options as well. what I think is कि थोड़ा सा commercialize ज़्यादा करने की कोशिश की है इसको. We trying to portray it as a sort of a mini PSL or something like that. But उस पे I think we could argue that ये दोनों चीजें they were running side by side, but in the end कोई ऐसी positive चीज नजर नहीं आ रही फिलहाल. Obviously, it's still early days. We need to get through with at least a season of this. We never know what happens. Whether it gets discontinued after a season, या structure को लंबा लेके चलेंगे. If there's a change in the regime within the PCB, तो क्या होता है पॉलिटिकल इंस्टेबिलिटी और ऑल दैट. आई थिंक सब सारे फैक्टर्स को अगर देखा जाए, सो इट्स you cannot say anything. There's a lot of uncertainty at this point.
There's an Urdu phrase I would want to use for this system. The idea कि आपके पास ये Champions Cup की teams हैं with the mentors, and then you have regions and departments too. I would call this ना चट भी अपनी ना पट भी अपनी, because because आप जो दोनों जो you're just trying to satisfy all sides essentially, but going towards the PSL. The PSL is a product that we all have cherished, right? As a nation, we have cherished and we have seen it grow so beautifully, and it is probably one of the best cultural events of this country, right? It's bigger than the sport, and सबसे ज़्यादा जो viewership and सबसे ज़्यादा जो sponsorships होती हैं वो PSL में होती हैं, and after that it's Ramzan, or maybe they both are equal, right? And so आपने इस तरह की product जो कि इतनी successful है, आप जो you are hell bent on destroying that. We know that it was a project of Najam Sethi, right, and Shahryar Khan. उसके बाद से जो भी administration आई है after Ehsan Mani, they all have been trying to make their own product, and उससे जो है वो so that उनका नाम आए and all that. That is so ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. How can you even do that? It's a Profit magazine. They're not a cricketing magazine, but उनका जो है वो they're a financial magazine. उनका भी पूरा आया है कि PSL is now not the highest money making machine for PCB now. I mean, what on earth are you even doing? And as Rizwan also said, कि we want to make Champions Cup like PSL. I mean, what on earth are you doing? You've got people who have invested in PSL itna zyada. You've got the owners who have actually ran their franchises in losses for 7 years. Now, जब time आया था कि profit generate करना शुरू करें, you started to destroy the best product that you had.
Yeah, I agree. I think इसमें वो वाली बात कि you mentioned that profit का article. I read something on Twitter कि I think Daniel shared it from Cricinfo about the same thing कि ये जो profit वाली बात है कि you're not essentially you had the sole money generating event that PCB had in the calendar year was the PSL. But इस साल they're expecting, बल्कि इस साल जो गुजर चुका है, they said कि it is not international cricket made more money for you than the PSL. So I think it not only speaks about what our priorities were during this time, but it also speaks volumes about the fact that people are trying to replace it. No, by people I mean the people within the PCB. They think that they might be able to either create something as equal to the PSL, something as good as PSL, both quality wise and the commercial aspect as well. Because as far as I know, कि जो, the stake that the PCB had within PSL financially, I think कि ये चाह रहे हैं कि they want to sort of increase it. Financial gain within the PCB should increase, uh, क्योंकि पहले तो दे फेल्ट के फ्रेंचाइजेस अब शुरू में तो बोथ द पार्टीज वर इन लॉस, एवरीवन हु कंट्रीब्यूटेड, बट अब व्हेन दे फेल्ट के द टाइम इज देयर के everyone will try to make money and profits, so I think they're moving on from it because they feel like कि इसमें इतनी revenue generation नहीं होगी. I don't know what they're thinking because it's the most successful tournament we've had for quite a lot of time. एंड बाकी प्लेयर्स की जो बात है रिजवान वाली, आई थिंक वो तो एक सेंस क्रिएट हो जाती है जब सब आप सबसे सुन रहे होगे पीसीबी ऑफिशियल से कि वी वांट टू क्रिएट समथिंग इवन बेटर देन द पीएसएल और समथिंग इक्वल टू द पीएसएल एज अ डोमेस्टिक लीग. तो प्लेयर्स विल eventually reflect it and start talking about it as well. एक और बात जो थी आई थिंक कि पीएसएल से रिलेटेड ही कि why did we come to this point कि the PSL, which is एक तरह से कह सकते हैं PSL has become an isolated event कि people say कि इसको अलग रख दें, ये purely commercial है, it's purely for the sponsors and एक जैसे the IPL in India has its own identity, तो उस आइडेंटिटी पर पहुंचने से पहले ही इन पाकिस्तान they try to sort of destruct it or tone it down, and side by side parallel में they're trying to build something that's within the domestic norms. I remember, I do not know if you remember or not कि जब ये वसीम खान एरा था we had, और I think उसके एक साल बाद वाली बात है कि when we had the official broadcast of the national T20, वो कोविड वाले एरा में behind closed stadiums, बाबर played for Central Punjab I think, उस सीजन की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, where the production quality was quite better and we had good games on our hands. Eventually एक तरह से बात लग रही थी थोड़ा सा कमर्शलाइज करने की, इसको बेटर प्रेजेंट करने की कोशिश की। आई डू नॉट नो वाई कि उस लाइन में क्यों नहीं ये जाते, हैव यू नेशनल T20 एंड चैंपियंस कप, उसको मेक इट समथिंग दैट यू कैन ओन। जैसे एक तो इन्होंने क्योंकि दे रिमूव दैट एस्पेक्ट ऑफ द रीजन्स एंड ऑल के डायरेक्टली रीजन्स इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं हो रहे हैं, रीजन्स के नाम नहीं है, तो आई थिंक उसकी वजह से भी थोड़ा सा ये इम्पैक्ट आया है कि पीपल टेंड टू इग्नोर द फैक्ट कि एक एसोसिएशन तो थी रीजन से लोगों की, यानी पीपल सपोर्टेड देयर टीम्स, obviously players सारे इधर उधर थे, it wasn't as picture perfect as we wanted it to be, obviously there was room for improvement, but I think कि वो that system, or you could say that area, if they would have been invested in it further, would have been much better than the way they're going right now. I think what they're trying to do is establish a middle path between both these sides, and I do not think, I hope कि कुछ अच्छा निकल ऐसे, but ऐसा लग नहीं रहा है. So we'd see with time कि किस तरह होता है, but right now I cannot say anything about it.
नो सो प्रोडक्शन क्वालिटी में कब को आपको इन्हांस करने में इतना प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। आई मीन T20 ब्लास्ट की इतनी ज़बरदस्त प्रोडक्शन क्वालिटी होती है, बट but it's just about isolating PSL and marginalizing PSL as an event just because वो आपसे जो लिंक नहीं था, नहीं थी। So it is so weird कि अगर आपका वो इवेंट नहीं था तो जो आप एक अपना नया इवेंट जनरेट करें। I mean it's extremely toxic. Now also ये under 19 champions कब जो है, I feel like that would have been more important than the Champions Cup that we're having right now. उसको
Yeah, I think कि थोड़ा सा ये बात कह सकते हैं कि they were not that well prepared for it. तो दे वर कॉट ऑफ गार्ड बिकॉज ऑफ इट कि थोड़ा सा जल्दी स्टार्ट कर दिया। ये भी कह सकते हैं कि आई थिंक द आइडिया इज राइट, वो जो पाथवेज क्रिकेट वाली पूरी बात है इनके इसमें। एक तो ये बात कि वी हर्ड दिस थिंग फ्रॉम क्वाइट अ लॉन्ग टाइम कि जब से वे फॉलोइंग एनी डोमेस्टिक स्ट्रक्चर, एनी रिजीम दैट कम्स इन, तो दे हैव दिस थिंग कि भाई प्रॉपर अंडर 19 सिस्टम होगा, अंडर 23 सिस्टम होगा, उसके साथ दे हैव दिस यूनिवर्सिटी टूर्नामेंट्स, कॉलेज टूर्नामेंट्स, स्कूल टूर्नामेंट्स, बट eventually जो players आते हैं they come through those the districts and the regions। ये वाली बात के स्कूल कॉलेज टूर्नामेंट से या इवन अंडर 19 में भी उसी से आते हैं, बट थोड़ा सा आई फेल्ट कि ये वाली चीज़ इस तरह इस दफ़ा इम्प्रूव कर सकते थे फर्दर। बाकी आई थिंक टूर्नामेंट तो दे कॉल्ड इट ऑफ, उस पे आई थिंक आई एग्री कि ये दे वर अंडरकुक्ड, दे वेंट इन विद इट क्वाइट अर्ली, थोड़ा सा टाइम लेके करते तो इट वुड हैव बीन मच बेटर। अभी थोड़ा सा लॉजिस्टिकल इश्यूज वैसे ही चल रहे हैं हमारे मुल्क में, due to the fact that we are trying to prepare the stadiums वैसे ही due to the Champions Trophy next year, so our international games are being affected by it as well। अभी rumors थी वो इंग्लैंड सीरीज वाली, खैर वो तो that they've been set aside, but we, it's they try to do everything at the same time, which is not how things work। uh, you cannot have every you can have both these up teen circuits हो गए ना, basically they're trying to run three systems if we count in the under 19 system with a different one. So ये तीन different circuits they're trying to run them parallelly, and इस वजह से ही because they're trying to run it parallel, uh, they're facing numerous problems because of the fact that we do not have we do not have enough capacity to function with all these three tournaments, or not tournaments but three systems together. So I think एक ये बात भी है जहाँ पे they're lacking. I think इसको they'll continue it a bit later on when they're done with the Champions Cup or whatnot. But देखते हैं, time will only tell कि what they're planning to do with it. Baki, as far as the idea of having the under 19 system linked with the districts and the under 23s and also the regions is good. I think pathway proper established sahi kiya इन्होंने, and if they work, if we get the correct amount of players that we are required to bring up in order for a newer generation of cricketers to follow pursuit, I think it could be termed as a successful venture as far as the under 19 setup is concerned.
That makes perfect sense. Obviously, under 19 pay के level पे what they're doing does make a bit of sense. But moving towards mentors, so apparently these mentors have been hired, and the salaries that they're getting are really high to say the least. And Usman Samiuddin wrote in his article that जो आपकी ब्रॉडकास्टिंग की जो आपको फी मिल रही है उसका हाफ जो है वो मतलब इन सब की जो salaries हैं. And that is, I'm very sorry to say, a bit ridiculous because what are mentors going to do for these players who are so established and so professional at this point, who have played international cricket? आप यही चीज अंडर 19 पे क्यों नहीं कर सकते? आई नो पीपल आर गोना से कि पीजीएल वाली चीज हो जाएगी वापस, बट स्टिल आई मीन व्हाट आर mentors are even gonna do? It's I just feel like at this point with this mentors thing ये बिल्कुल एक stars attraction वाली एक चीज है, just to sort of just for better popularization and better commercialization. What do you think?
या आई थिंक वही उस्मान वाले उसमें आर्टिकल में रेड समवेयर के लास्ट ईयर जो पाकिस्तान कप के विनर की जो द प्राइज मनी जो था, इट इज ऑलमोस्ट इक्वल टू द अमाउंट दे पेइंग टू वन सिंगल मेंटर राइट नाउ. सो इट जस्ट शोज हाउ ridiculous this all of this is कि एक तो at one hand they've also increased the the player fees, match fees of the players as well as the contracts जो which they are giving to the players. और pool भी थोड़ा सा, it's not कि it's a 18 man pool, so they've increased it to 30 I think per team, तो वो which makes it an overall of 150 player pool. तो वहाँ तक तो सही है बात कि they are giving more money incentives to the players. But I think एक तो ये जो mentors हैं, you essentially hiring one of the legends of Pakistan cricket itself. So पैसों के लिए I do not think, खैर you cannot say anything about any individual, but I would have personally felt कि these players जितने बड़े इनके नाम हैं, their stature, I think they would have been agreed to do this at a much lower cost, especially considering the amount you're investing on other things. This money could have gone anywhere, to your under 19 circuits, grassroots levels, आपकी ground upgradation, कहीं भी लगाते. I know it's not that much of an amount, but considering the fact कि last year का prize money is equal to a mentor's fee right now, तो ये that shows कि हम लोग हम लोग की फाइनेंशियल जो प्रायोरिटीज हैं एज ए नेशन ऑन द होल भी कहाँ पर लाई करती हैं. सो या दैट्स आई थिंक कि ये वाली चीज़ पे और गौर किया जा सकता था. आई थिंक दे मिस द ट्रिक देयर.
I mean, yeah, women's cricket ka, I know you don't want to do the super league, but you can at least create a proper domestic structure for them. You can send in more money for essentially their international cricket. I mean, you can do so many things, and yeah, super league के लिए भी आप कर सकते हैं. You've been talking about the super league for so long, अब तक जो नहीं हुई.
Yeah, Super League के अलावा I think although it is imperative to have a Super League for the women's circuit as well, but what you said कि international cricket में भी इतनी जगह है to spend money on the women's setup and all, तो I think वहाँ सबसे पहले पैसे जाने चाहिए. Had अब खैर we cannot say for anyone, but the mentors who are quite big names of our country, they themselves could have stepped in and said, no, we are not going to take this amount. But you know how Pakistan works.
I mean, in no way I would blame the mentors because they are being part of an operation which we know is not coming from the best intentions. Maybe from the best intentions, but we know it's not the best thing for Pakistan cricket right now. And so, if they are being part of this operation, they would ask for more money, and because they would have other opportunities too. I mean, who declines more money in an economy where things are already going to tell essentially.
Yeah, I think ये वाली बात के who declines money, and I agree sort of कि भाई they're giving their time and their big names. So uh, I still have my reservations. इतने बड़े नाम, they could have done something voluntarily. They could have come up and said no, we're not going to take this fee, and they could have themselves announced कि भाई we're giving this fee for other forms of cricket in Pakistan, even to the women's setup or the grassroots setup anywhere. But I just meant कि redirect that money. But they're giving their time and energy. I'm in no way saying कि that they're taking it as wrong कि गलत ले रहे हैं पैसे. But I just felt कि there could have been some better use of it, because जो players यहाँ पर हैं, the point you mentioned कि do they even require mentorship, because you already have your star icon players who could have acted as mentors. You essentially have one icon player minimum in each team, कैप्टन के अलावा भी. So आप उसको उनको यूटिलाइज कर सकते थे. They could have been numerous ways this could have been done, and you could have brought in आप अब इतने पैसे लगा ही रहे थे, तो you could have had proper coaches in rather than these mentors. Although कि उन्होंने लिखा हुआ तो है in the new structure कि the coaches would have been there, proper qualified coaches होंगे, strength and conditioning coaches होंगे and all that. But I think कि इतनी limelight जितनी mentors को मिली है, इतनी अगर coaches को मिल रही होती, इतना पैसा उधर redirect हो रहा होता, तो could have been better for the entire circuit. या mentor वाली बात ही सही है. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, we can have coaches too, but again, I think you have actually mentioned in the past case point पे आगे even coaching की भी उतनी ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं है. And so maybe वो ही जो qualified coaches हैं, they can be sent towards under 19 or A teams for better results or better outcomes.
Yeah, I think सही है. I You reminded me. So वही बात जो हमने की, this money could have been redirected to any other place in Pakistan cricket setup, places that require it even more than they're spending it here. But हाँ, ये वाली बात के people will think कि we are attacking the mentors and the fee they're taking. We in no way mean that. What we're trying to say is कि जितने बड़े
No,
नाम
no,
हैं,
not at all.
this all they're giving their time. So ये बात नहीं है कि they do not deserve that money or anything. But we just felt कि it would have been better if it would have been gone somewhere else. हाँ, ये बात भी है. But I was thinking कि they've come up with the structure, but इसमें they do not have any sort of mechanism to judge what the result would be. I think, if you know what I'm saying, कि the result क्या होगा eventually, कि the number of players that make it to the uh, your 11s or the 15s or the squads of your national sides, each uh, you know each of the format considered, so will इसको जज किस तरह करेंगे? बिकॉज डोमेस्टिक में जो पहला सिस्टम था, डिपार्टमेंट्स में भी इवन तो वो डिपार्टमेंट्स ओन करते थे। अभी तो ये बात है कि इट इज बेसिकली ग्लोरिफाइड पीजेएल वाली बात हो गई ना भाई। जैसे द थिंग इज, इफ यू टोन डाउन पीजेएल फ्रॉम द कमर्शियल एस्पेक्ट अ बिट, तो यही वाला सेटअप बनता है। जिस प्लेयर्स की एज और वो आप चेंज कर दें सब कुछ, बट ये जो पूरा स्ट्रक्चर है ये वही है जो पाकिस्तान कप वाले फिर टॉकिंग अबाउट राइट नाउ। तो थोड़ा सा कमर्शियल एस्पेक्ट टोन डाउन कर दें, पाकिस्तान सुपर लीग वाली वाइब कम कर दें, ख़त्म कर दें, तो यही वाली चीज़ बन जाएगी। सो यू कैन से कि इसको इस तरह भी देखा जा सकता है। बट हाँ, जो द क्वेश्चन आई आस्क्ड वाज कि व्हाट डू यू थिंक कि इवेंचुअल मैकेनिज्म क्या होगा टू जज द एफिशिएंसी ऑफ दिस सिस्टम? या इन द एंड वही बस बंदे के ऊपर होगा कि इफ दे लाइक इट और नॉट, तो आगे जाके दे कंटिन्यू इट और डिसकंटिन्यू इट?
So I think continuity and discontinuity of this system, that basically depends on who's the chairman, right? But वैसे अगर हम ideal scenario में देखें, so maybe इसका best outcome ये हो सकता है कि I will just bank on the under 19 system for this, under 19 and yeah, under 19 वाले, बिकॉज बिकॉज वहीं पे एक्चुअल डेवलपमेंट अगर होनी है तो होनी है, अगर वहाँ पे क्वालिटी क्रिकेट खेली जाती है एंड अच्छे रिजल्ट्स आते हैं, अच्छे प्लेयर्स हमें नजर आते हैं, सो आई थिंक दैट वुड बी माय एक्चुअल फेवरेबल आउटकम फॉर दिस चैंपियंस कप वाला सिस्टम, राइट? व्हाट डू यू थिंक?
या आई थिंक इट्स अ फेयर कॉल के वही मैंने भी पहले यही बात की थी कि देयर इज अ लॉट बैंकिंग ऑन द अंडर 19 सेटअप इसी उसमें, द पाथ रेसिंग, क्योंकि उसमें द थॉट बिहाइंड इज इट इज गुड, the system is also not that bad, so there are chances that you will eventually get the fruits of the seeds you've laid right now. But ये जो सीनियर क्रिकेट वाला सेटअप है इस पे काफ़ी डाउट्स हैं, बट लेट्स सी हाउ इट गोज ऑन। तो बट आई थिंक पाकिस्तान कप पे थोड़ी डिटेल में अगर बात कर लें टीम्स पे, सो वो स्क्वाड्स इनिशियल देखने के बाद क्या रिएक्शन था आपका? डू यू थिंक के इवेंट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हुई है, रीजनल एस्पेक्ट भी थोड़ा सा इंक्लूड
Yeah.
करने की कोशिश की है?
Yeah, so I think एक एक करके रिव्यू कर लेते हैं, बट बिफोर